Too many of us talk about well-being, but fail to invest in the mental wealth foundations that will prevent procrastination, burnout, and catastrophes. So it was just over a year ago, I got a phone call early in the morning one day from a friend of mine in the States. It was the day after somebody in my network had fortunately been unsuccessful in a suicide attempt. This friend of mine in the States, good old Bock, is the doctor. He's the head of A&E at a hospital there. And he was able to answer all the questions I never thought I'd have to ask anybody in my life, that I could then share those answers with the family concerned. Why is this unique and strange? Well, because he was ringing at 4 o'clock in the morning, local time. To this day, we still don't know why he rang. It was simple. His gut feel said, I need to ring Mike. So he did. For me, this is a classic example of human social responsibility. Doing stuff that our gut feel says sticks out and makes us want to do something. So pick up the phone. And when we build that support network around us that is fit for purpose for the way forward, we have great people asking good questions. We have good people sticking their hands up and helping. And it really strengthens our environments, creates enduring cultures, and really enables our communities to flourish, which is so important. Because when it's not there, we struggle with mental poverty. Isolation kills creativity and prevents decision-making. So we need to manage our way through that, because that in turn can have a negative effect on our mental health. So what is mental wealth? Well, clearly it's a play on the language of mental health, but the main part of this is, if mental poverty is the yin, then mental wealth is the yang. Or you can go the other way around, I don't mind, it works. But for me, it's knowing who we've got around us that works for us and helps us along our way. And we get those decisions right, we get those right people with us, it makes a difference. Because when we are struggling with mental poverty, the wheels come off. Catastrophes happen. When I was writing my book on mental wealth, unfortunately, I didn't have a clear picture in my mind who I was writing it for at first. And I lost a friend who completed suicide during that time. He was going through an ugly divorce, estranged from his son, and COVID wasn't helping either. He was intelligent, articulate, and knew what he was doing. Now, I'm not saying somebody picking up the phone at the right time, at the right place, at the right environment might have changed that outcome, but it might have. I'm not claiming some strange valor of having this story, because most of us in this room are 1 or 2 degrees of separation away from a story such as this, which is very, very, very sad. So we need to understand where our mental wealth comes from and how that builds. And for me, it started with research into professional and elite sportsmen and women as they transitioned into their career after sport. Fascinating environment, but unfortunately for these people, the guillotine comes down. Yesterday, they had 35 people keeping on the pool, on the track, on the pitch. Today, form, favor, focus, old age. They are now no longer able to compete. And that whole network, that whole support network they had has gone and is no longer there for them. And they have to work out who they are and what their new career path is and what they stand for, because they've always stood as the athlete, as the sports person. And this dragged me into further research into the world of what goes on with all of us, because we all transition from school to university, to college, to apprenticeships, to first job, second job, houses, career paths, everything else. We are transitioning consistently. Before COVID, after COVID. We have people around us that are no longer fit for purpose in our environment, and we need to evolve from that, which means we need to consistently reinvent and develop. And when we get that right, it works. So I'm going to give you a little challenge here. And this is something I want you to take away and work on after this. But it's just about mapping who is in your support network. Your mental wealth team, I call it. I would, wouldn't I? But that works. So who have you got? And I want you to, for some of you, it's about just writing a mental list down in your brain. For others, you might even use quill and ink or a phone. And I just want you to write down a list of names of the people that are in your support network, that are around you, that you spend your time with. And then non-scientifically, just gut feel, how you feel about them. I want you to score them on a score of 1 to 10. 1 being a low score, 10 being a high score. How committed to you are they? Now notice I did say this is not scientific. Yeah, this is judge your gut feel. Please do not overinflate the number because Barry will be upset if he only gets an X. Yeah, you're not sharing these numbers with anybody. This is just for you. And if you really want to be mean to somebody just because you're feeling that way, don't bother. Yeah, this is only for you. So let me explain what those numbers mean for you. If you've got somebody scored a 1, 2, or a 3, they know you. They're an acquaintance. Full stop. If they're 4s and 5s, they know you because of a reason. They could be a work colleague. They could be somebody from the sport that you play. They could be from the school gate. Simple. But you don't turn up for 2 months, they're not going to pick up the phone and see how you are. Notice a bit of a theme here about picking up the phone. You may be subliminally messaging. But it's what we need to do. When we look at the 6s and 7s, some of these are your best friends. Some of them will be your family members. You've gone to parties, funerals, weddings, bar mitzvahs, whatever it happens to be. However, you are not comfortable being open and vulnerable and mentally naked with these people. You're not going to share your financial fears, your career paths, your mental angst. You're going to be keeping that secret and only sharing that with your 8, 9s, and 10s. Now, I'm not saying here, anybody that didn't score 8 or above, you need to bin, because that'd be a bit harsh. No, and my focus here is on having the right people around you. And some of you in the room have no 8, 9s, or 10s. Because you spend your whole life giving, helping, fixing, and supporting everybody else, but not looking after number 1. And beware in this environment, those negative Nellies, you know, the mood hoovers, the ones that bring you down. Some of them will be associated through work. Some of them will be associated via blood. And we have to manage them because these energy drains prevent us from being brilliant more of the time. Not all of the time, but most of the time. Would be good. So let's build on that support network around you. Areas I focus here is on your self-care. Because clearly, if we're looking after number 1, then we are fit for purpose and we can help others. But if we're not fit for purpose, then how are you going to make things happen? In my family, I always used to joke that I was number 6. Wife, 3 kids and a dog, then me. The dog had puppies, I became number 14. But it kind of works. But seriously, we need to give ourselves permission to be number 1 and do the stuff that's selfish that works for us. And that's the point. When you're a child, you're told don't be selfish, look after Billy, share your toys. As an adult, look after number 1 because that way you can be invincible and help other people. So what do you do for your self-care? For me, I'm a weekend warrior. I'm not an extreme adventurer, weekend warrior. That means I do a whole load of open water swimming nonsense. Yeah, for some of you in the room, you're sitting there going, yeah. Others turn around saying, oh, quite like a bit of that. For me, I swam the English Channel as a relay team. So I'm mad, not stupid, or stupid, not man. Can never quite remember. We were the fastest men's relay team in 2015. Since that time, I've gone on and done all sorts of swimming marathons across the UK in rivers and lakes of Windermere, Loch Lomond, Coniston, the Thames, and so on. I don't tell you that story to impress you. I tell you to show you that actually it unlocked a door for me because I don't do meditation and mindfulness. I can't sit on top of a hill and go hom. Doesn't work for me. But I discovered I was always doing active mindfulness. And every time I'm in the water, stroke after stroke after stroke, I find literal flow. And mentally I get out clearer, firing, feeling brilliant afterwards. Sometimes a little bit chilly, but I always feel better after a swim. Brilliant. What works for me is that. But what works for you? It's about not apologizing for the fact that you do stuff that other people might think is a little strange. I know there are adults who love Lego. Yeah, for some people, they think that's a child's toy. For others, they think it's utterly awesome and they spend lots and lots of, whatever works for you. Embrace the things that work for you. Find that sanctuary where you go to reboot and rebuild. I go to the south coast of England. My parents' ashes are scattered in the sand dunes down there. And I sit there and I find a wonderful space of zen and calmness. One of my daughters has actually said, when I eventually pass, she's going to stick my ashes in a rocket and fire me off on the headland there. I can think of a worse place. Yeah, it's not that bad. But where's your space? What's the cheeky coffee shop that you go to, which has got a great corner upstairs where nobody can find you? Where's the tree that you have to go and sit under, where you get that smell and just the aromatherapy that just lifts your soul? We need to do more of that stuff. And where we need help, be that in nutrition, fitness, whatever those, let's bring in the experts to look after your self-care so you're fit for purpose for the way forward. Because apparently health really does matter. And it's part of our ownership and responsibility that we need to look after, number one, because then we can look after our communities. And one of the things I've always found very, very useful in here is the coach. Because the coach asks you those irritating questions. You know, the ones that you don't let anybody else ask you, but they can because you're paying them. And you have to listen because they are going to ask you again and again. My coach challenged me about my relationship with time. And so I did some research and I just looked into one particular area. And for some of you will be able to relate to this. Others, you'll turn around and say, no, not for me. But let's work with this. My relationship with alcohol. Now, I'm not an alcoholic, but I'm an ex-rugby player. And so my relationship was very sociable. And we worked out conservatively that I would donate 15 hours a week to the god of alcohol. Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, once during the week. Easily done. That's conservative. That's excluding hangovers and other things. Why share that with you? Well, 15 hours a week is 2 7.5-hour working days per week. That's 100 working days per year donated to alcohol. For some of you in the room, you're sitting there going, okay, but alcohol's not my thing. Yeah, but box sets are. Social media is. These are the poisons that steal your time because you've got no time, you've got no energy, you've got no ability to do stuff, but you're on all of those things the whole time. If you don't believe me, just download one of the apps that tracks your activity on that electronic income reducer, you know, the phone or the TV, and you'll be surprised. Conservatively, numbers out there are 20 to 40 hours a week we are consumed on our phones on average. That's a lot of time, but we have no time. Let's get with it. We've got to look after ourselves and have the right people around it. That's what the coach helped me find. The professional network, these are the people who read the 47 pages of terms and conditions because you're not an expert at that. They are. They deal with the emotion-free environment. I'm not having a go at accountants, solicitors, and wealth managers. They are gorgeous. We need them. However, they do a job that I really don't want to do. And had I spent just a few hundred with a particular independent legal advice, I would have avoided that property in Cyprus nearly 20 years ago that has cost me 250 plus. And I'm putting up big zeros on the end of that. Scary when you haven't got the right people around you. The strongest environment to build this support network around you, so this mental wealth team, is from the mastermind group, because the mastermind group is there. You're open, honest, vulnerable, and mentally naked with them, sharing confidential information. They're holding you account to what you say you're going to do, and you're doing the same for them. It's the most powerful team you can get, because suddenly you've got 6 people, 7 people that are there challenging you. And that makes such a difference, because they build your network. They become so strong and so good for you. So you've got your self-care. You've got your coach. You've got your professional network. And then you've got the mastermind team. And we've got the people we know. So for me, Newton changed my life. Now, I'm not talking about Sir Isaac Newton. I'm talking about Newton Herbert. Lovely chap, very elderly gentleman I met in Perth in Western Australia. He changed my life, changed my trajectory, changed everything I was doing. But he came from my father's friend when they lived in Singapore in the 1950s, who then moved to Bangkok, who then when we moved to Australia, having been in the UK, yeah, you see the tenuous connections. 50 years apart, those guys knew each other. And I got the phone call saying, go and meet Newton, he'll try and help. 3 months after I met him, he died. Narrowest of windows to make that connection and using that network and making it work. It's so important that we step up and we do what works for us. Because when we do that, that really matters. So what do I want you to do going forward from here? So what is the question? Firstly, I want you to go away and spend more time on evaluating the support network around you to make sure you've got good people. Do not be charitable about the names you've got on the list. Truly understand who's got your back, and then start recruiting the right people around you that are going to help you make all the difference. Because when we build strength and enduring communities, it makes an impact. When we have the good people around us, we can have more fun along the way. And when we're having more fun, we do a lot of the good stuff. I did say to you at the beginning as well, I was going to challenge you to do one thing. Challenge you to make one phone call. Who's that going to be? I don't want you to text them. I don't want you to high five them. I don't want you to do anything else. I want you to pick up the phone and ring them today. Better still, if geography allows, go and see them. You do not know what is going on in somebody's world. You do not know the impact you could have on their support and the way you could change their lives and potentially even save lives. So for me, in the immortal words of the Ghostbusters movie, who are you going to call? Thank you.